But Sven Nykvist, all of his movies every single one of them are shot beautifully. I mean, absolutely beautifully. You will not be disappointed.
Welcome to the Red, Green, Blue Podcast.
So today on the podcast, I'm going to be talking about 10 of my favorite films. So I'm really excited about sharing these with you. I should clarify this. These are my top 10 favorite movies that I like for their cinematography. They're really unique. Each one of them is special for its own little reason and for its own big reason in a lot of ways. And you should also know that I'm not alone in this. Like if you look at these movies, you'll see a lot of cinematographers. They may debate whether or not it's a top 10, but they won't debate that it is an incredible film and has extremely good cinematography. So to start it out, I have the sheet of paper here. So let's list it out. All right. So the first one I have on my list, I should say that while I have these numbered 1 to 10, I don't really feel that one is better than the other. You can't really like rank art the way you rank like track scores, you know, because faster time is better. But it just seems like movies, like they'll hit a certain point where they're just kind of like everything fits and they're communicating and they're doing their thing and they're just good. And every movie on this list hits that. But I wouldn't dare to think that I would say like, well, The Third Man is a better movie than Lawrence of Arabia, because it's not. You know, they're just different. They're doing different things and they got different goals, but they're both valid and both extremely valid and extremely amazing. I mean, if you were lucky enough to work on any of these films, you did a great contribution. And the nice thing is we don't have to go through all that struggle. You get to just watch it. You can just watch the pinnacle of someone's lifelong career and struggle just by getting onto Netflix or getting a DVD and watching it. I find that amazing that like you can go to a movie theater, pay $7, $10 and see many people's 2 years of their lives on the screen. And yeah, more than 2 years and a lot of sacrifice. And honestly, I think that's the most enjoyable part of being involved in movies or art is actually just looking at it. There's so many different ways. I mean, that's just so effortless relative to making art, which is really quite painful and difficult. So, okay, The Third Man. So The Third Man is a black and white film. It's kind of a detective mystery with a twist, thriller kind of thing. Uses shadows extremely well. Orson Welles plays a villain in it, and probably one of the best villains in the history of cinema, or maybe even the history of drama. It's pretty amazing. But like I had a special treat. I got to see the original 35 millimeter print of this at the Glasgow Film Festival on a really big screen, like a old school, huge screen. Auditorium probably sat around 500 or 600 people. Anyway, it was really enjoyable. And I mean, if you haven't seen it before, it's funny. Orson Welles didn't direct this movie, but if you go through a lot of Orson Welles Shakespeare films like Othello and stuff, you'll see a really, for the time period, the best use of the camera you're going to see. In fact, of course, Citizen Kane is famous for its revolutionary use of cinematography, which was directed by Orson Welles. It used a lot of deep focus and a lot of movements that we think now are commonplace, but at the time they were mind-blowing. I mean, it was the crazy CGI of the era. So Citizen Kane, of course, is excellent. But I put The Third Man on there because of its astonishingly adept use of shadows. And in a way, like using shadows and contrast, that's something you could only get away with in black and white photography, or even do or accomplish. If you tried to do the same thing in color, it wouldn't be nearly as effective. Because in color photography, in color cinematography, the color is the dominant attribute, but black and white, really texture, lights and darks can run the game. In fact, in my own development as a photographer, I stuck with black and white photography primarily until I was 25 for a really long time. A lot of that was for cost reasons. I could get a roll of film, I could roll my own and You can buy film like 100-foot rolls and then put into canisters, and that got my cost down to $1 or $2 a roll. And then I could develop it by myself, so I wasn't spending money that which I did not have to be a photographer. In fact, my first two books are black and white photography books. And I really feel that helped me develop because I got to kind of lock down all those other elements and know how to use them more subtly and sophisticatedly before I introduced color, which is so overwhelming that it just kind of dominates a photograph. So that's why I like The Third Man. And in a way, I think, if you're, starting out with digital now, of course, we don't have films, you don't have that cost, you can go straight to color. I think it's a good idea. I mean, once again, I'm 100% pro color photography. I think from this point on, from my two books on, I've done mainly, I will probably do nothing but color photography for the rest of my career even. I think I did so much black and white, I can kind of burned myself out. I love color. And it's a wonderful thing. But now I do think there's value in viewing the world in black and white as you're developing as a photographer. So when you have your picture in Photoshop, I would convert it to black and white and just to see what it looks like and see if it's a strong photograph in black and white before you add the color. And if you can get in the habit, or maybe you just do like a personal project where you do like a series of 10 photos in black and white, I think it'll really let you see what else is going on in your photographs besides the color. Because color is so dominant, it's hard to, especially when you're just starting out, it's hard to see anything else if you just jump into color. All right. And then as I talk about that, one of the best color movies ever filmed is Lawrence of Arabia. Man. Now this movie, it was filmed in 70 millimeter, which is like a really big film format. Very few movies are made that large anymore. I think Hamlet, the Kenneth Branagh Hamlet, was shot in 70 millimeter, and it's an astonishingly beautiful movie. And also the latest Quentin Tarantino film, The Hateful Eight. But it's funny because 70 millimeter was kind of made for Westerns and like films like Lawrence of Arabia with these big, vast vistas. But The Hateful Eight, it all takes place in a cabin. So it kind of like, it's really a play. And so it doesn't really utilize, I mean, there's like maybe 5 or 10 minutes at the beginning where there's like these vistas of Wyoming that work, but it's kind of cheating the format. It doesn't really play to its strengths. I went to that movie all excited to see a 70 millimeter film, 70 millimeter Western, and was sorely disappointed. But I mean, people will say that. I really don't think that's his best movies. Like in fact, I think I even have one on my list, Kill Bill. Kill Bill, I would say, is way better. Yeah, so Lawrence of Arabia, it's got these really great desert shots of Peter O'Toole, who's a, amazingly photogenic guy walking around in these Arab robes. It's a really inspiring film, quite frankly. I like it. I even have a poster of it on my wall. But the cinematography is extremely good. And again, if you can ever see that in a real theater, they did like a special release a couple of years ago, which was nice, but of course, we don't always get that opportunity. But you can watch it on, get the DVD. It was recently restored, get the Blu-ray, stream it, pop it in, large screen TV. It's a real great experience. The first time I saw it, I was a kid and I saw it on a very small television. And I don't think I fully got it. I knew I liked it, but I didn't really get the visual aspect. And it's really nice that we have these big TVs now so we can really see the quality of the photography. And it's funny because it actually has changed the way TV is made. Like you can look at any TV show made pre-2000, you're going to see a very different style, very boxy, very slow, very limited use of cinematography. But then you get into like the more past 2000 when more people had big screen TVs. You look at Battlestar Galactica, of course, House of Cards. It's just a whole nother ballgame. It's really impressive. I mean, the modern Battlestar Galactica, the one that was made in 2004, I think. But there's a lot more interesting things going on photographically. Of course, Breaking Bad and a bunch of other TV shows show that as well. Then I've got the next one on my list is actually another black and white film called Winter's Light. Now, Winter's Light is an Ingmar Bergman movie, but the director of photography on it is Sven Nykvist. I don't know. I find Ingmar Bergman, well, depressive and melodramatic. I understand that's his point, and he himself struggled with depression. And I can understand that. I think he did good movies. But his cinematographer, Sven Nykvist, is one of my favorite filmmakers of all time. He does these really simple shots. They don't really even call attention to themselves. They kind of just navigate the story. But then after you've been in the discipline for a while, you watch them, and you're like, that's the most ingenious shot ever. As you see him like flow through a conversation from one person to another, or move through a scene, or even just the way a scene's lit. I mean, it's so simple and aesthetic. And he actually directed, Sven Nykvist, one of my favorite films of all time, called The Ox, or The Oxen. It's a Swedish movie. It's really hard to find, unfortunately. It was nominated for Best Foreign Film, but for some reason it's not widely distributed on DVD and streaming, which is unfortunate. But hopefully people can find it. But Sven Nykvist, all of his movies every single one of them are shot beautifully. I mean, absolutely beautifully. You will not be disappointed with him. In fact, my first camera lecture series, or my first camera interviews, one of my chief regrets is this guy. He died about 5 or 10 years ago, and I really wish I could have interviewed him. That would have been a real treat. Then the next movie I have on here, it couldn't be any more different, is Blade Runner. Now, Blade Runner is a movie. It was made in the 80s, and during the 80s, there were all these cinematography kind of, how can I say this, cliches of the 80s, like really contrasty lights, a lot of colored gels. They would put a 5K through window blinds, so you'd get like lines on the person's face. I mean, lots of weird stuff. I mean, you can look at music videos of the time and see everything I'm talking about. But in Blade Runner, they use all of these kind of, bright colors, this stuff that normally we consider cheesy 80s, but they pull it off. I mean, it just looks amazing. It's like this really interesting world. I mean, partially because it's a science fiction film, it lends itself to that artifice, but it's an astonishing movie. But I watched it and I was, holy cow. I mean, this feels like 5 minutes. I was just transfixed with every single frame. All right. So the next one I have on here is Raging Bull. It's funny. I'm like staggering black and white and color films, but Raging Bull is Martin Scorsese's best movie. And I think many people would agree with me on that. Raging Bull is about a boxer in New York. And it's done like the fight sequences, they vary the frame rate, which isn't very interesting. It's filmed kind of like these old 1950s, 40s boxing, Life magazine boxing photographs. It's a really compelling story. Everything fits together on it. I think, who is it? Robert De Niro plays the lead in it, which is probably his best role. And I think you would agree with that as well. So it's this one thing about work and about art. You really never know when you're going to do like your best work. And it could be like the first thing you do is the best thing you'll ever make. In fact, who is it? Edward Weston's son said something to that effect. He showed his best photograph. Cole Weston showed his best photograph he had ever taken, the best response he had gotten to it. And he even felt it was the best he had ever taken. And he said, yes, so be sure to hold on to your early stuff because you never know if it's going to be the best thing you ever do. And it was. He had this, it was like a seascape of Carmel or something, but it was a nice photograph. But that really is true. But Martin Scorsese made a lot of movies. Raging Bull is his best, even though it was fairly early on in his career. He's made a lot of other great movies too, of course. So then I have on here Raise the Red Lantern. Now, Raise the Red Lantern is a Chinese film. So it's done in this, couldn't be any more different than Raging Bull. Raging Bull is a very kind of documentary style, black and white, gritty film. Whereas Raise the Red Lantern is very kind of stylized, very selective use of color. Red is very dominant. It all takes place in a courtyard of a rich Chinese, I don't know if he's a lord, but very wealthy Chinese person. And it's about his wives. But again, excellent use of cinematography. I mean, it's funny, like Asian cinematographers have just such a great vision and such a great use of color. That's what I love about photography is it's an international language. And like each area of the world brings something to it And since I don't know Chinese, I don't know Japanese, but I can really appreciate Japanese and Chinese cinematography, whereas I couldn't appreciate Japanese and Chinese literature on the same level because I couldn't read it in the original. But I can see Japanese and Chinese cinematography in the original. And it's amazing. It's just such a joy. I mean, what a fun medium we're all in. What an exciting place to be. And really an exciting time to be in it. I mean, so much is changing, so much is going on. It's becoming much more accessible. To me, I mean, I hear people complain about cinematography and photography today, but I love every minute of it. It is so much fun. And you can go out and, once again, just turn on Netflix or Amazon streaming or any of these. What is it? Hulu actually has a lot of the Criterion collection, which is a lot of the greatest films ever made if you get the Hulu Prime. So we got Raise the Red Lantern. You can just go to it. It's so easy. You stream it. I used to have to hunt movies down at the library, and now you can it's just there in your living room. It's just a matter of clicking it. And the Criterion collection on Hulu Prime really would be actually a good way to see a lot of these films. Okay, so the next one I got is West Side Story, which could be the best American movie ever made. Now, that's a bold statement because the United States has made a lot of good movies. But West Side Story is amazing. I mean, I just don't even know where to say how amazing it is. It's got the perfect use of camera, perfect songs, perfect acting. It just all adds up. And it's kind of a movie that only could be made in America, whereas Raging Bull, while it's an excellent movie, it could maybe be pulled off in France, in Italy, in a lot of other places, but nobody else could do West Side Story. It's really a joy. And the use of cinematography and color is very good. All right, so now we got Kill Bill. Now, I really liked Kill Bill because it's a nice, interesting kind of meld of like a samurai movie and American Western kind of mashed together. It uses a lot of Chinese elements, a lot of, like, what is it? Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee kind of style. But it's just gorgeous, And once again, like, it's funny, like, you'll see a lot of these are kind of, well, some stories lend themselves to be more visually told, like action movies or, of course, fighting sequences. But, there's a lot of good, like Woody Allen films always have like an amazing cinematographer on them, like Gordon Willis, who did like Annie Hall and a bunch of other films for Woody Allen. But he always has a tremendous one. And I think it's in part because he realized like Woody Allen's good at dialogue. He's good at writing. So he's good at acting. He brings on somebody who's amazing at photography to kind of cover that. And it works well. I mean, a lot like Christina Victoria Barcelona is astonishingly well filmed and a bunch of the other ones. But you'll see a lot of these are kind of more dramas, more action type movies, kind of lend themselves to the camera and use of cinematography being forefront. So the next one I have on here is Strike. Strike is actually a silent film. It's a Russian silent film. And I'm a big fan. I mean, I don't know how many different ways I can say that as I go down the list. But Strike, those early Russian silent films they were like, the medium was so young. It was like 10 years or less than 10 years old. And they just kind of just played with it. And there's just such joy. And they just kind of like, hey, let's try doing this. And it works. It all fits together. It all looks amazing. Silent film was really exciting time for movies. In fact, if you go back like Metropolis, which is a German silent film, amazing. And Harold Lloyd, he's an American filmmaker. He's not as well known as Buster Keaton or Charlie Chaplin, which is unfortunate. And the reason why, I've actually talked to the Harold Lloyd estate about this, is because Harold Lloyd felt like in the 60s and 70s that if you're going to license a movie, you should pay the same amount for a silent film as you would for a sound film. So nobody saw them, but they're really great. They're really great. His use of camera is way better than Buster Keaton or Charlie Chaplin. He was a photographer himself. He did several still photography books and really pioneered 3D photography and the adoption of it a lot in the early 70s and late 60s. But nobody's ever heard of him. But if you see The Freshman, I think anybody would like that movie today. I think it stands up to time. There's Safety Last, which is also an excellent Harold Lloyd film. But this movie, Strike, is amazing. And Harold Lloyd would say that too. Everyone would. Strike, Battleship Potemkin. I mean, it's kind of funny, like sitting now after the fall of the Soviet Union and all the awfulness that happened in communism, like tens of millions of people being killed. It's, that is certainly problematic to the subject matter, but, they didn't really know that at the time. They really felt like sincerely that they were saving humanity from awfulness, but they actually ended up creating a whole lot of awfulness. But that doesn't change the fact that it's a really good film and a really excellent use of cinematography. Coincidentally, Metropolis also has problems because it's kind of has some fascist elements in it. Like it's before Hitler by a lot, but it's still, very good use of cinema. That's a whole nother discussion we can talk on about another time, about art that has problematic places in history, but it's still important in the history of art. But the ideology behind it is problematic. Like in America, we have Birth of a Nation, which is a silent movie that is astonishingly and awfully racist, but it's really important movie. It was like the first feature-length film. I mean, everything else before that was a short. That's a huge influence, but it just happened to be about a really bad subject and have really bad ideas in it. Oh, it's really awful. Like you watch it now, you're like, oh my goodness, did they really think that? That's so bad. But anyway, I'm going on to the next one, Saving Private Ryan. Now, Saving Private Ryan is a more modern film. It's a Steven Spielberg film, so a lot of people saw it. Steven Spielberg, cinematographer, I think he's highly, highly, highly underrated. He does tremendous work. Some shots, like in War of the Worlds, like some shots you just have to pause because it's just so gorgeous. Only on the screen for like 2 seconds, but it's just astonishing. And to me, it's funny. Like it's like, I'm surprised like not everybody doesn't know this guy's name, like the way people know like Tom Cruise's name, but they don't. And they probably never will. So sad. So sad. Because he's really important and he really makes a lot of great movies. But here we are. But Saving Private Ryan, especially the first 30 minutes when they're doing that landing on Omaha Beach, it's pretty incredible. I'm a fan of varying frame rates and racking focus. Once again, almost never, ever happens. Virtually all films are shot at 24 frames per second. 24 frames per second, like F4 or F16. And that's it. It's really what's going on in front of the camera is way, way more important. So once again, don't get caught up on this, but it was interesting because they varied frame rate on this and they vary frame rate very effectively. It just doesn't call attention to itself. It just kind of flows with the story and adds to the impact. So anyway, those are my top 10 favorite films. Comment below. A lot of other people, I'm sure, have exciting films that they really like. And I'm not saying these are the only 10 movies that are amazing. Like Drive, I love that movie. Like the cinematography is astonishing. There's a lot of other ones I could name. I just narrowed it down to 10. So write your other favorites down below and let other people know about them. It's always fun to have good movies in the Netflix queue. So add these movies to your list and watch them and get a camera and...
Thank you for listening.